Caveat emptor. 2 words, spoken by a woman holding a mop, and $50 million hung in the balance. Before we get into the story, kindly let us know where you're watching from, and if you enjoy this story, please like the video so other people just like you can find this video too. Now let's get into it. Picture this: Manhattan. The 72nd floor of Ashford Tower, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking a city that never sleeps, never forgives, and never forgets where you came from. Inside the boardroom, 7 lawyers. Combined hourly rate, $42,000. 4 executives in Italian suits. 1 billionaire CEO. And a contract worth more money than most people will see in 10 lifetimes. Outside the boardroom, a woman in a gray uniform, minimum wage, invisible. Her name was Elena Voss, and she was about to break every single rule. You see, the lawyers were arguing, voices getting louder, tensions getting higher. A Latin phrase buried in a 100-year-old contract, caveat emptor. They thought it meant one thing. They were wrong. And that mistake? It would cost Marcus Ashford's company everything. Elena heard it through the door. Her hand tightened on the mop handle. She knew the translation. Of course she knew it. She'd studied contract law at Yale. Past tense, different lifetime, different version of herself. She should have kept walking. Should have stayed invisible. But have you ever had information that could change everything, and you knew that staying quiet was the safe choice? What would you do? Elena didn't keep walking. She opened that door, stepped into a room where she absolutely did not belong, and in perfect Latin, with an accent that could only come from years of classical study, she corrected them. The room didn't just go quiet. It froze. Because billionaires? They don't expect the help to speak, and they certainly don't expect the help to be smarter than their legal team. Marcus Ashford turned in his chair, slowly, and for the first time in 8 months of Elena cleaning his building, he actually looked at her, really looked at her, and something shifted. You could feel it. That moment when the air changes, when everything you thought you knew gets ripped away and you're standing there wondering what the hell just happened. But here's what you don't know yet. Here's what makes this story spiral into something darker, more complicated, more real than you're ready for. Marcus's eyes weren't just surprised, they were angry. Now, before I tell you why a billionaire was furious at the woman who just saved him $50 million, I need to be honest with you about something. 94% of you watching this right now haven't subscribed. 94%. You're here for the story. I get it. You want the drama, the romance, the ending where everything works out. But you don't want to commit. You don't want to hit that button, and I'm not going to beg, but I am going to tell you this. If you like stories about people who refuse to stay in the box society built for them, if you're tired of the same recycled romance plots where nothing feels real, if you want to know what happens when class, desire, and secrets collide in ways that'll make your chest tight, then subscribing takes 2 seconds. And if you don't, if you're one of those people who watch every single video but refuse to subscribe, drop a comment and tell me why. I'm genuinely curious. What's holding you back? Fear of commitment? Too many subscriptions already? You think I won't notice? I notice. Anyway, let's get back to Elena and Marcus, and the moment that changed both of their lives. 3 months earlier, Elena Voss arrived at Ashford Tower at 5:47 a.m., same time every day. Same gray uniform, same ponytail pulled tight enough to give her a headache by noon. She clocked in, grabbed her cart, started on the executive floor. Most people think cleaning is mindless work. Those people have never cleaned a building where billionaires make decisions, where contracts get left on desks, where conversations happen in hallways because powerful men assume invisible women don't have ears. Elena heard everything. She knew about the merger before the board did. She knew Marcus Ashford was trying to acquire Meridian Industries. She knew the deal was complicated by an old contract with a parent company that dissolved in 1952, and the lawyers were scrambling to figure out if the obligations transferred. She knew all of this, and she kept her mouth shut. Because that's what you do when you're trying to survive. When you've got $43,000 in student loan debt for a degree you never finished. When your mother died on her knees scrubbing someone else's floor and you swore you'd never end up the same way, but here you are, different building, same position. Life's funny like that, isn't it? How many of you are doing something right now that you swore you'd never do? How many of you are one bad break away from a version of yourself you don't recognize? Elena was 32 years old. She'd been brilliant once. Full scholarship to Yale, double major in classics and economics, Latin, ancient Greek, contract theory, corporate structures. She could read Cicero in the original text and explain derivative markets in the same breath. And then her mother got sick. Stage 4, pancreatic. 8 months from diagnosis to death. Elena came home. Missed a semester, then 2. The scholarships didn't wait. The loans came due. And by the time her mother was buried in a plot Elena couldn't afford, going back to Yale felt like trying to return to someone else's dream. So she did what she had to do. She survived. Cleaning office buildings paid $13 an hour plus benefits. It wasn't glamorous, but it was stable. And after watching her mother work 3 jobs just to keep the lights on, stability mattered more than pride. At least that's what Elena told herself. Every morning, at 6:15 a.m., she cleaned the executive floor, 72nd floor, where the air smelled like expensive cologne and even more expensive ambition. Marcus Ashford's office was always first. She'd dust the bookshelves, empty the trash, water the plant by the window that was definitely dying because billionaires don't know how to take care of living things. And sometimes, not often, but sometimes she'd stop in front of the framed diploma on his wall. Yale University, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, summa cum laude. Same school, different world. Her fingers would hover near the frame, never touching, just close. Did he know how lucky he was? To finish? To walk across that stage and collect the piece of paper that opened every door? Did he ever think about the people who almost made it? Elena would shake her head. Get back to work. Because standing around thinking about what could have been doesn't pay off student loans. But here's the thing about Marcus Ashford. He noticed things. Not people, usually. Not in any way that mattered. He was 38 years old, 6th richest man in New York, and ran his company the way a chess master runs a game. Everything calculated. Everything controlled. But 3 weeks before the boardroom incident, something happened. Marcus was late for a meeting, rushing down the hallway, coffee in one hand, phone in the other, talking to Hong Kong about market fluctuations. He didn't see Elena. She was backing out of an office, pulling her cleaning cart. They collided. Not hard, but enough that his coffee sloshed. Her cart rattled, and for exactly 3 seconds they were standing close enough that Marcus caught the scent of her perfume. Jasmine. Cheap jasmine. The kind you buy at drugstores because the department store versions cost a week's salary. But jasmine... "I'm sorry," Elena said quickly. Eyes down. "The way you're taught to apologize when you're the help and you've inconvenienced someone important." "No, that was..." Marcus started to say it was his fault. But then he actually looked at her. Brown eyes. Sharp. Guarded. Tired in a way that had nothing to do with lack of sleep and everything to do with years of fighting upstream. For just a moment, their eyes met. And Marcus felt something he didn't have a name for. Then his phone buzzed. Hong Kong was waiting. The moment passed. "Excuse me," he said, and stepped around her. Elena watched him go. Her heart was pounding. Why was her heart pounding? It was just a random encounter. Happened 100 times a day in a building this size. Didn't mean anything. She went back to work. But that night, lying in her studio apartment in Queens, staring at the water-stained ceiling, Elena couldn't stop thinking about the way Marcus Ashford had looked at her. Like she was a person. Not invisible. Not a uniform. A person. It was the most dangerous thing she'd felt in years. Because wanting to be seen, when you've spent a decade learning how to disappear, that's how you get hurt. Over the next 3 weeks, Marcus noticed her more. He'd nod in the hallway, she'd nod back. Once, he said, "Good morning." She nearly dropped her spray bottle. His assistant thought it was weird. "Since when do you acknowledge the cleaning staff?" Marcus didn't have an answer. He just knew that the woman with the tired eyes and the jasmine perfume cleaned his office every morning at 6:15, and sometimes he'd come in early just to, what? See her? That was ridiculous. He didn't even know her name. Except he did. Because he'd checked the building roster. Elena Voss, housekeeper, 8 months employment, satisfactory performance reviews. No degree listed, which was standard for her position. But something nagged at him. The way she moved through his office. Her eyes would linger on the books. Once he came in and found her standing in front of his bookshelf, head tilted, reading the spines. She didn't hear him enter. "See something interesting?" he asked. She jumped, literally jumped. "I'm sorry, Mr. Ashford. I was just—" "It's fine," he said. And then, because he was curious, "Do you read?" Stupid question. Everyone reads. But Elena understood what he was really asking. "Do you read this? Keynes, Friedman, Piketty, Cicero's letters, annotated editions of Roman contract law?" "Sometimes," she said carefully. "Which one?" He nodded at the shelf. She hesitated. This was dangerous territory. Admitting she understood these books meant admitting she was more than what she appeared to be. And that never ended well. But something in his face, genuine curiosity, not condescension, made her answer honestly. "The Cicero," she said quietly. "Third from the left. I studied him in school." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "In Latin?" "Yes." The air shifted. "Where did you study?" he asked. And Elena realized she'd said too much. "A long time ago," she said, grabbing her cart. "I should finish up. Excuse me, Mr. Ashford." She left before he could ask anything else. Marcus stood in his office, staring at the door she'd just walked through. A housekeeper who read Cicero in Latin. Who the hell was Elena Voss? He should have let it go. He didn't. And 3 weeks later, when she walked into that boardroom and corrected his lawyers in flawless Latin, Marcus wasn't just surprised. He was furious. because he'd already started looking into her background, and what he'd found made him sick. Stop for a second. If you were Marcus, and you just discovered that the woman cleaning your office had a connection to your past, a connection that implicated your family in something terrible, would you tell her? Or would you stay quiet and hope she never found out? Keep that question in your head. Because what Marcus knew, and what Elena was about to discover, changes everything. The day it happened was a Tuesday. Elena wasn't supposed to be on the 72nd floor during business hours. Her shift ended at 2 p.m. The boardroom meeting was scheduled for 2:30. But one of the day shift cleaners called in sick, and Elena needed the overtime. $43,000 in debt doesn't pay itself off. So she stayed. At 2:45, she was wiping down the hallway outside the main boardroom. The door was thick, but not soundproof. Voices carried. At first, she wasn't paying attention. Just another meeting. Just another group of powerful people making decisions that would affect thousands of lives without losing a single minute of sleep over it. But then she heard the raised voices. Arguments. A merger on the brink of collapse. And then, clear as day, one of the lawyers said, "The original contract states caveat emptor, let the buyer beware, which means all liabilities transfer to us upon acquisition. We'd be assuming Meridian's debt obligations going back 70 years. We can't do this deal." Elena's hand stopped moving. No, that wasn't right. Caveat emptor. In this context, in a 1952 contract with specific terminology about corporate dissolution, it didn't mean what they thought it meant. The lawyer was misreading the syntax. The phrase was part of a larger clause that actually exempted the acquiring company from prior obligations. They had it backwards. If Marcus walked away from this deal based on that interpretation, he'd lose Meridian to a competitor. And Meridian's patent portfolio alone was worth $200 million. This wasn't just a mistake. This was a disaster. Elena should have kept walking. It wasn't her job, wasn't her problem, wasn't her world. But $43,000 in student loans for a degree she never finished meant that Yale education was still in there, still sharp, still aching to be used for something other than dusting bookshelves. And maybe, just maybe, a part of her wanted Marcus Ashford to see her. Really see her. She set down her cleaning cloth. Her hand went to the boardroom door. Have you ever stood at a door you knew you shouldn't open? Where everything inside you is screaming that crossing this threshold will change your life, and you can't know if it'll be for better or worse? What did you do? Did you open it? Elena did. The door swung open, heavy, expensive, the kind of door that announces you before you even speak. 7 lawyers, 4 executives, 1 billionaire. All of them turned. The lead lawyer, Gerald something, silver hair, Rolex that cost more than Elena's car, looked annoyed. "Excuse me, we're in a private meeting." "Caveat emptor," Elena said. Her voice was steady, stronger than she felt. "You're reading it wrong." The room went dead silent. Gerald's face turned red. "I beg your pardon?" Marcus leaned back in his chair. His face was unreadable, but his eyes were locked on Elena with an intensity that made her skin burn. "The contract," Elena continued. She knew she should stop, knew she was ending her career with every word. But she'd already opened the door. The full phrase is, caveat emptor acceptus obligationibus antecedentibus. You're isolating the first part and ignoring the exception clause. One of the younger lawyers grabbed the document, started flipping through it. Gerald sputtered. This is highly inappropriate. She's right, the younger lawyer said quietly. He looked up, face pale. The exception clause. It's here, in the subsection. We missed it. You could hear the air leave the room. $50 million. That's what that missed clause was worth. Marcus stood up slowly, buttoned his suit jacket, walked toward Elena with measured steps. She couldn't read his expression. Was he grateful? Angry? Something else entirely? He stopped 3 feet away from her, close enough that she could smell his cologne. Expensive, understated, the kind of scent that whispered power instead of shouting it. "What's your name?" he asked quietly, as if he didn't already know. "Elena Voss, Mr. Ashford." "Where did you study Latin, Miss Voss?" The question hung in the air like a blade. Everyone was watching now. The executives, the lawyers, all of them looking at the woman in the gray cleaning uniform who just outperformed a legal team with 3 centuries of combined experience. Elena lifted her chin. Yale, Mr. Ashford. Something flickered in his eyes. Not surprise. He already knew. "My office?" Marcus said. His voice was rough, barely controlled. Now, it wasn't a request. He turned and walked out of the boardroom, expected her to follow. Elena's legs felt like water. The lead lawyer was staring at her with undisguised contempt. The executives were whispering, and one of them, a man named Peterson with a weak chin and a strong sense of entitlement, said just loud enough for her to hear, "Well, this will be entertaining." Elena wanted to run. Instead, she followed Marcus Ashford, down the hall, past the curious stares of people who'd never looked at her directly before and were suddenly very interested in who she was, to the corner office with floor-to-ceiling windows and a view of Manhattan that made you feel like you owned the world. Marcus held the door open for her. She stepped inside. He closed the door behind them. And for the first time in 8 months, Elena was alone in a room with Marcus Ashford. The air felt too thick. The space felt too small. Marcus didn't sit behind his desk, didn't put furniture between them. He stood by the window, hands in his pockets, shoulders tight. "How long have you been working here?" he asked. 8 months. "And before that?" Elena's jaw tightened. "Various positions." "All cleaning?" "Yes." "How long since Yale?" There it was. "I didn't graduate," Elena said. Each word cost her something. "I left before senior year. So technically, I didn't attend Yale. I just almost did." Marcus turned to face her. "Why?" "Why what?" "Why did you leave?" Elena laughed. It came out bitter. "Does it matter?" "Yes." The certainty in his voice threw her. "My mother got sick," Elena said. She didn't owe him this story, didn't owe him anything. But something about the way he was looking at her, like she mattered, like her answer actually meant something, pulled the truth out. "Cancer. I came home to take care of her. By the time she died, I'd missed too much school, lost my scholarship, couldn't afford to go back." "I'm sorry," Marcus said. "Are you?" The words came out sharper than she intended. Marcus frowned. "Why wouldn't I be?" "Because men like you don't apologize to women like me. You don't even see women like me. We're part of the furniture, useful when you need us, invisible the rest of the time." Is that what you think? It's what I know. Marcus took a step closer. I've noticed you, Elena. The use of her first name sent electricity down her spine. For weeks now, he continued. I've watched you in my office, seen the way you look at the books, the way you move through this space like you understand it in ways the people who work here don't. That doesn't mean anything, Elena said. It does to me. They were standing too close now. Elena's heart was hammering. Why am I here, Mr. Ashford? Are you firing me? Because I overstepped, and I understand if... I'm not firing you. Then what? Marcus ran a hand through his hair, a gesture that felt uncharacteristically uncertain. I need to tell you something, and you're going to hate me for it. Elena's stomach dropped. What are you talking about? Your mother, Marcus said carefully. What was her name? Why? Please. Maria. Maria Voss. Why? Marcus moved to his desk, pulled out a file, handed it to her. Elena opened it with shaking hands. Employment records, her mother's employment records. Ashford Estate Services, housekeeper, 1,997 to 2003. The world tilted. Your family, Elena whispered. My mother worked for your family. Yes. She died cleaning your house. Marcus's face went gray. Yes. Let me ask you something. If someone you were falling for turned out to be connected to the worst thing that ever happened to you, could you forgive them? And before you answer, before you tell me what you'd do, I want you to hit that subscribe button. Because here's the truth. This story gets darker before it gets lighter. It gets messy. It gets complicated in ways that'll make you question what you believe about class, about love, about whether two people from different worlds can actually bridge the gap. And if you want to see how this ends, if you want to know whether Elena walks out of that office or stays, you need to be subscribed. The people who don't subscribe, they're the ones who'll forget about this channel. They'll lose the story. And 3 weeks from now, they'll be searching, what happened to that Latin romance story, and kicking themselves. Don't be that person. Subscribe right now. It's free. It takes 2 seconds. And then let's see if Elena can forgive the unforgivable. Elena stared at the file in her hands. Her mother's signature on a dozen forms, work schedules, incident reports. And then, at the bottom of the stack, a death certificate. Maria Voss, age 49. Cause of death: traumatic brain injury sustained in fall from ladder while performing domestic duties. The Ashford Estate, Greenwich, Connecticut. Elena had been 17. Away at school on her scholarship, she'd gotten the call at 1 p.m. on a Thursday. Her mother had fallen, hit her head. By the time Elena got to the hospital, Maria was already gone. The estate had paid for the funeral. Anonymous benefactor, they'd said. Elena never knew who. Now she knew. You, she said. Her voice was shaking. Your family. You killed her. Elena. She was cleaning your house, your chandelier or your windows or your... Her voice broke. She fell, and she died, and you paid for the funeral like that would fix it. It doesn't fix it, Marcus said quietly. Nothing fixes it. Then why am I here? Elena threw the file on his desk, papers scattered. Why did you hire me? Some sick sense of guilt? Redemption project? I didn't know, Marcus said. Not when you were hired. HR handles that. I didn't make the connection until 3 weeks ago. When? When I asked about you, Marcus admitted. After we ran into each other in the hallway, I looked into your background, saw your name, saw your mother's name, saw the connection, and you didn't tell me. No. You let me clean your office. Every day. You watched me, knowing what you knew. Yes. Elena's eyes filled with tears, angry tears, the kind that burn on the way out. Why? Marcus looked at her, really looked at her, and when he spoke, his voice was raw. Because I was 17 too. Elena stopped. When your mother died, Marcus continued, I was 17. Away at prep school, I got the call that there'd been an accident, someone who worked for my parents. I came home for the funeral, stood in the back, watched a girl my age, you crying over a casket my family paid for because we felt guilty. He stepped closer. I didn't know her, didn't know you, went back to school, went to Yale, built a career. Never thought about it again until 3 weeks ago when I saw your file and realized the woman I couldn't stop thinking about was the same girl from that funeral. Elena's breath caught. You were there? In the back. You didn't see me. I didn't see anyone, Elena whispered. I was. I couldn't. I know. Silence fell between them, heavy, weighted with 15 years of grief and guilt and the strange, undeniable pull they both felt. My parents were negligent, Marcus said. The ladder your mother used was faulty. OSHA cited them. They paid the fine, settled with the estate, and went back to their lives like nothing happened. And you? I tried to forget, Marcus admitted, for years. But then I took over the company, started reviewing employment practices, safety standards, found dozens of incidents like your mother's, people hurt, people killed because corners were cut, because profit mattered more than lives. He moved to his desk, pulled out another file. For 15 years I've been paying survivor benefits to families of employees who died on the job. Every single one, whether it was our fault or not. Elena opened the file. Pages and pages of names, payments, including Maria Voss, she read. Monthly payments to me? Your student loans, Marcus said. I've been paying them down. $500 a month for 8 years. Elena's knees went weak. Why? Because I couldn't save your mother, but I could help her daughter. Elena didn't have words. That's not guilt. I don't know what that is. It's responsibility, Marcus said, something my parents never understood. Elena sank into the chair. Her hands were shaking. 8 years of payments. She'd thought it was a loan forgiveness program. Some bureaucratic glitch she didn't question because she was too grateful. It was him. It had always been him. I don't know what to do with this, she said. Marcus crouched in front of her. Eye level. Close enough that she could see the flecks of gold in his eyes. You don't have to do anything, he said. I'm telling you because you deserve to know. Because I can't stand here and pretend I don't know who you are, what you lost, what my family took from you. It's not your fault, Elena said. The words surprised her. You were a kid. So were you. Their eyes met. And for the first time, the anger drained out of Elena, replaced by something more complicated, more painful. Understanding. I hated you, she whispered. For so long, I hated everyone who had what I'd lost, the degree, the career, the life that should have been mine. I know, but I don't think I can hate you anymore. Why not? Elena reached out. Her hand hovered near his face, not quite touching, Because you're the first person in 15 years who's looked at me and seen who I could have been, she said. Not who I am. I see both, Marcus said. His voice was rough. And I think who you are is extraordinary. The air between them crackled. Marcus's hand came up to cover hers, brought it to his cheek. His skin was warm. Elena's breath stuttered. This is a bad idea, she said. Probably. You're my boss. I know. I'm... Elena, Marcus said. His thumb stroked across her knuckles. Stop giving me reasons why this can't happen. I can think of a dozen more, but I can't stop wanting you. Elena's heart was going to explode out of her chest. What do you want from me? She whispered. Everything, Marcus said. But I'll start with dinner. Dinner. Sounds simple, right? Two people, good food, conversation. Except nothing about Elena and Marcus was simple. Because how do you have dinner with the man whose family's negligence killed your mother? How do you sit across from him and pretend your heart isn't racing every time his eyes meet yours? Elena said yes anyway. She told herself it was just dinner, professional. Maybe he wanted to discuss a job opportunity. That made sense, didn't it? She'd just saved his company $50 million. Of course he'd want to talk about that. Except when Marcus picked her up at 7 p.m. that Friday, he wasn't in a company car. He was driving. Himself. A Tesla that was worth more than Elena had earned in the past 3 years combined. And he wasn't wearing a suit. Dark jeans. Navy sweater. Casual in a way that should have made him less intimidating but somehow made him more real, more human, more dangerous to her carefully constructed defenses. You look beautiful, he said when she slid into the passenger seat. Elena was wearing the only dress she owned that didn't come from a clearance rack. Simple, black, nothing special. But the way Marcus looked at her made her feel like she was wearing diamonds. The restaurant wasn't what she expected. No 5-star Manhattan hotspot. No place where they'd run into his colleagues or her former classmates who'd actually finished their degrees and were living the lives she should have had. It was a small Italian place in Brooklyn, family-owned, the kind of place where the owner knew the regulars by name and the menu was handwritten on a chalkboard. How did you find this place? Elena asked as they settled into a corner booth. My father used to work construction in this neighborhood, Marcus said. Before he got injured. Before everything changed. We'd come here on Fridays when he got paid. 3 of us would split one pasta dish and breadsticks. Elena stared at him. Your father worked construction? For 18 years, my mother cleaned houses. Marcus met her eyes. I wasn't born into money, Elena. I married into it. The world tilted again. Your wife? Ex-wife. We divorced 6 years ago. Her family had old money, Connecticut money. The kind that comes with estates and expectations and a family tree that goes back to the Mayflower. He paused. She never let me forget where I came from. Neither did her family. I thought... Elena stopped. Everyone thinks you're old money. I know. I let them think that. Easier than explaining that I put myself through Yale on 3 different scholarships and worked night shifts at a warehouse to afford food. Elena's chest tightened. Why are you telling me this? Because I need you to understand that I know what it's like to be invisible. To stand in rooms where you don't belong and pretend you deserve to be there while everyone looks through you. He reached across the table. His hand stopped inches from hers. I see you, Elena. I've always seen you. She should have pulled away. Instead, she closed the distance. let her fingers brush against his. The contact sent lightning up her arm. They talked for 3 hours. About Yale. About the classes they'd both taken, years apart, from the same professors. About Latin and Greek, and the way ancient languages made the modern world make more sense. About loss. About grief. About the versions of themselves they'd buried along the way. And somewhere between the pasta and the tiramisu, Elena realized she was in trouble. Because Marcus Ashford wasn't who she'd thought he was. He was smarter, funnier, more damaged, more real, and she wanted him in a way that terrified her. When he drove her home, he parked outside her building in Queens. 5-story walk-up, cracked steps, the kind of place where you heard your neighbors' arguments through the walls. "This is me," Elena said, suddenly embarrassed. He'd probably never been in a neighborhood like this. "Can I walk you up?" Marcus asked. "You don't have to." "I want to." So she let him. Up 5 flights of stairs with fluorescent lights that flickered, past the door on the 3rd floor where someone was cooking fish, past the couple fighting on the 4th floor. At her door, Elena turned. "Thank you for tonight. I didn't expect—" "Elena," Marcus said. He was standing close. Too close. "I'm going to offer you something, and I need you to think about it before you answer." Her heart hammered. "Okay. The merger we're working on. It's complicated. International contracts, old agreements, legal language in 6 different languages, 3 of them dead." He paused. "I need someone who understands classical contract law, someone who can read the original documents, someone brilliant enough to catch what my legal team misses." "You want to hire me?" Elena said slowly. "As a consultant. $48,000 for 3 months' work." The number hit her like a fist. $48,000. More than she made in 2 years of cleaning. "Why?" she asked. "Because you're the best person for the job. Or because you feel guilty?" Marcus's jaw tightened. "If I was hiring you out of guilt, I'd offer you a job you weren't qualified for. This? You're overqualified. You saved us $50 million with a glance at a document my lawyers studied for 3 weeks. Imagine what you could do with actual access." Elena wanted to say yes. God, she wanted to say yes. But accepting meant crossing a line, meant stepping back into the world she'd left behind, meant facing all the people who'd finished what she couldn't. "I need to think about it," she said. "Take the weekend," Marcus said. "But Elena?" "Yes?" "Stop punishing yourself for surviving. Your mother wouldn't want that." The words broke something open in her chest. Marcus leaned in. For one heart-stopping moment, Elena thought he was going to kiss her. Instead, he pressed his lips to her forehead. Gentle, reverent. "Good night, Elena." He turned and walked back down the stairs. Elena stood at her door, hand pressed to her forehead where she could still feel the ghost of his lips, and wondered what the hell she was doing. She took the job. On Monday morning, Elena Voss walked into Ashford Tower wearing a blazer she'd bought at Goodwill and carrying a briefcase she'd borrowed from her neighbor. She wasn't invisible anymore, and everyone noticed. The whispers started immediately. The housekeeper who corrected the lawyers, Marcus Ashford's new pet project. Wonder what she did to earn that promotion. Elena heard every word. She lifted her chin and kept walking. Marcus set her up in an office 3 doors down from his. Small, but with a window, a real desk. A computer that didn't take 5 minutes to boot up. "If you need anything," he said, "I'm right there." Too close, Elena thought. You're too close and I can't think when you're near me. But what she said was, "Thank you, Mr. Ashford." "Marcus," he corrected. "We're colleagues now." Colleagues. Right. Except colleagues didn't look at each other the way Marcus looked at Elena when he thought she wasn't watching. And colleagues didn't feel their skin catch fire every time they accidentally touched, reaching for the same document. The work was brutal. Hundreds of pages of contracts, some in English, some in French, some in Latin and medieval Italian, legal structures that dated back to the 1800s, corporate entities that had dissolved and reformed and merged so many times that tracking the chain of obligation was like untangling a knot made of smoke. Elena loved every second of it. Her brain, dormant for so long, roared back to life. She worked 12-hour days, 16-hour days, lost herself in the language and the logic and the beautiful complexity of it all. And Marcus was there, not hovering, not micromanaging, just there. He'd bring her coffee at 9 p.m. when everyone else had gone home, black, 2 sugars, exactly how she took it. "How do you know how I take my coffee?" she asked one night. "I pay attention," he said simply. Their hands brushed when he handed her the cup. Neither of them pulled away. "You should go home," Elena said. Her voice came out breathier than intended. "It's late." "So should you." "I'm almost done with this section." "You said that 2 hours ago." Elena smiled despite herself. "Fine. 5 more minutes." "I'll wait." He did. And when she finally saved her work and stood to leave, Marcus was there with her coat, held it open for her. His hands lingered on her shoulders when he settled it into place. Elena turned. They were standing so close she could count his heartbeats. "Marcus," she whispered. "I know," he said. "Bad idea. You work for me. It's complicated. We should." She kissed him. Just a brief press of lips, testing, tentative. Marcus froze. Then his hand came up to cup her face and he kissed her back like he was drowning and she was air. It was desperate, hungry, months of tension released in a single moment. Elena's back hit the wall. Marcus's body pressed against hers. His hand slid into her hair, angling her head so he could deepen the kiss. She made a sound she'd never made before. Needy, wanting. Then the office door opened. They sprang apart like teenagers caught by parents. The night janitor stood in the doorway, eyes wide. "Oh, sorry. I didn't know anyone was still. I'll come back." He left quickly. Elena and Marcus stared at each other, both breathing hard. "That was," Elena started. "A mistake," Marcus finished. But he didn't sound convinced. "Right. A mistake. You work for me." "I know. This can't happen." "I know." Neither of them moved. Marcus's eyes dropped to her lips. "We should talk about this." "Definitely. Set boundaries." "Absolutely." He kissed her again. This time, it was slower, deeper. The kind of kiss that promised things neither of them were ready to name. When they finally broke apart, Marcus rested his forehead against hers. "I can't stop thinking about you," he admitted. "This is a bad idea," Elena said. "The worst. People will talk." "Let them." Elena pulled back enough to look at him. "You don't understand. To them, I'm still the help. If we do this, they'll say I slept my way into this job. They'll say you're using me. They'll tear us both apart. I don't care what they say." "You should. You have a reputation. A company. I'm not worth Don't, Marcus said sharply. Don't finish that sentence. You're worth everything, Elena, and anyone who can't see that can go to hell. God, she wanted to believe him. But she'd spent too many years being invisible, being less than, being the woman people looked through. I need time, she said, to think, to figure out if this is real or if we're just... It's real, Marcus said. At least for me, it's real. Elena's heart cracked open. Give me a few days, please. Marcus stepped back, ran a hand through his hair, messing it up in a way that made him look younger, more vulnerable. Okay, he said. A few days. Elena grabbed her bag and left before she could change her mind. She made it to the elevator before she started crying. Let's pause for a second. Because I need to talk to the 78% of you who are still watching this but haven't subscribed. 78%. You've been here for over 25 minutes. You're invested. You want to know if Elena and Marcus figure this out. You want to know if love can survive the weight of guilt and class and all the reasons it shouldn't work. But you still haven't subscribed. And here's what's going to happen. You're going to finish this video, you're going to feel all the feelings, and then YouTube's algorithm is going to send you somewhere else. And you'll forget about this channel. You'll forget about Elena and Marcus. And in 2 weeks, when we drop the next story, one that might be even better than this one, you won't see it. Because you didn't subscribe. So here's what I'm asking. 2 seconds. That's all it takes. Hit the subscribe button. Turn on notifications. And if you're one of those people who refuses to subscribe, if you've got some principle about it, or you think you'll remember to come back, or you just don't want to commit, at least tell me why in the comments. I'm genuinely curious. What's stopping you? Because from where I'm standing, you're already invested in the story. You might as well be invested in the channel. Now, back to Elena, and the choice that's about to change everything. Elena spent the next 3 days avoiding Marcus. Not completely. They still had to work together, but she scheduled meetings when other people would be present, communicated by email, made excuses when he tried to get her alone. It was cowardly. She knew it was cowardly. But every time she looked at him, she remembered that kiss. And every time she remembered that kiss, she remembered all the reasons it couldn't happen. On Thursday afternoon, Elena was in the records room, deep in the basement where the company kept physical copies of old contracts, the kind of place that smelled like dust and history and forgotten things. She was looking for a specific document from 1978, a subsidiary agreement that might impact the current merger. What she found was something else entirely. A file marked Employee Benefits, Discretionary Fund. She shouldn't have opened it. It wasn't what she was looking for, wasn't relevant to her work, but something made her pull it off the shelf. Inside were payment records, dozens of them, monthly payments to individuals, no corporate justification, no standard benefit structure, just names and dollar amounts. Elena flipped through them. Maria Voss, $500 month, started 2015. Her mother. But there were others. James Chen, Robert Martinez, Keisha Washington, dozens of names, all with death dates, all with monthly payments to surviving family members. This was what Marcus had told her about, the survivor benefits he'd been paying for 15 years. But seeing it in black and white, seeing the scope of it, made it real in a way his words hadn't. This wasn't just about her mother. This was about every person who died building the Ashford Empire, every worker who'd fallen, been crushed, been sacrificed to profit margins and quarterly earnings. And Marcus had been quietly, privately, trying to pay that debt. For 15 years. Not because he had to. The company had already settled the lawsuits, already paid the fines. But because he thought it was right. Elena sat on the floor of the records room, surrounded by files, and felt something shift in her chest. She'd been so focused on her own grief, her own anger, that she hadn't seen what was right in front of her. Marcus wasn't his family. He'd spent 15 years trying to atone for sins that weren't even his. And she'd kissed him and then run away because she was scared. Elena stood up, left the files scattered on the floor, took the elevator up 72 floors, walked past Marcus's assistant without stopping, opened his office door. Marcus was on the phone. He looked up, surprised, started to tell whoever was on the line that he'd call them back. Elena crossed the room in 6 strides, grabbed him by the tie, and kissed him like the world was ending. Marcus made a sound of surprise. Then his arms came around her, lifting her off her feet. The phone clattered onto the desk, forgotten. This kiss wasn't tentative, wasn't testing. This was claiming. When they finally broke apart, both of them were breathing hard. "I found the files," Elena said. Marcus went still. "Elena." 15 years, she said. "You've been doing this for 15 years, not just for my mother, for all of them." "It's not enough," Marcus said. His voice was raw. "It doesn't bring them back." "No, but it matters." Elena cupped his face. "You matter. I should have told you sooner. About your mother. About the payments. I shouldn't have let you work here without knowing." "Probably," Elena agreed. "But I'm glad I didn't know. Because if you'd told me on day 1, I would have thrown it in your face and walked out. I needed to see who you are first. Not who your family was. Not what happened 15 years ago. Who you are now." "And who am I?" "Someone worth the risk," Elena said. Then she kissed him again. This time, Marcus didn't hold back. His hands slid down her back, pulled her closer. She could feel the hammering of his heart against her chest, could taste the coffee on his lips, could feel years of loneliness and longing pour out of both of them. When they finally came up for air, Marcus pressed his forehead to hers. "I'm in love with you," he said. "I know it's too soon. I know it's complicated. I know I shouldn't say it. But I'm in love with you, Elena. And I'm done pretending I'm not." Elena's eyes filled with tears. "I don't know if I'm ready for that." "I know. I don't know if I can trust this." "I know that too. But I want to try," she whispered. "I'm terrified and it's probably going to blow up in our faces, but I want to try." Marcus smiled. "Here's a question for you. Have you ever wanted something so badly that the fear of losing it almost stopped you from trying?" Because that's where Elena was, standing in Marcus's office, his arms around her, everything she'd ever wanted within reach, and absolutely terrified. But here's the thing about fear. It only wins if you let it. Elena didn't let it. For the next 4 weeks, she and Marcus navigated the most complicated relationship either of them had ever had. At work, they were professional, colleagues. He was the CEO, she was the consultant. They kept appropriate distance in meetings, communicated clearly about the merger. After work? After work was different. Late dinners at small restaurants where no one knew them. Long walks through Central Park where they could be anonymous. Nights at her apartment where Marcus would bring takeout and they'd work side by side on her tiny couch, legs tangled, comfortable in a way neither of them had been with anyone else. They didn't sleep together. Not because they didn't want to. God knows they wanted to. But Elena had spent too many years being underestimated, and she needed to know that this, whatever this was, wasn't just physical. Marcus never pushed, never pressured. He was patient in a way that made her fall for him even harder. But the whispers at work were getting louder. People noticed the way Marcus looked at her, the way his voice softened when he said her name, the way he found excuses to stop by her office. The executives didn't like it. Especially Gerald Winters, the lead lawyer Elena had corrected in the boardroom. He'd been looking for a reason to undermine her since day one. 6 weeks into Elena's contract, the merger hit a critical point. The Meridian acquisition was nearly complete. Just one final board vote, one final contract review. And that's when someone found a problem. A real problem. A clause in the 1952 contract that actually did transfer liability. Not the one Elena had corrected, a different one. Buried in subsection 47C, written in archaic French. If they completed the merger with this clause intact, Ashford Industries would assume $180 million in environmental liabilities from contaminated properties Meridian's parent company had owned in the 1,960 seconds. The board meeting was scheduled for Thursday. On Wednesday night, Elena was still in her office at midnight, surrounded by dictionaries and translation guides and original source documents, trying to find a way out. There had to be something, some exception, some legal precedent, some way to restructure the deal so they weren't walking into a financial disaster. Marcus found her at 1 a.m. "Elena, you need to sleep." "I need to solve this," she said without looking up. "If we present this to the board tomorrow without a solution, they'll kill the merger. 2 years of work down the drain. Then it goes down the drain. I can fix this. I just need—" "Elena." Marcus took the document out of her hands, set it down, turned her chair so she was facing him. "You've been working for 19 hours straight. You're not going to find anything new at 1 a.m. that you didn't find at 6 p.m. You don't know that. I know you. You're brilliant. But you're also exhausted, and you're trying to save this deal because you think if you don't, I'll blame you." Elena's eyes filled with tears. "Won't you?" "God, no." Marcus crouched in front of her chair, took her hands. "Elena, listen to me. This merger lives or dies on its own merits, not on you. You've already done more than anyone could have asked. But if I can't, then we walk away. We find another deal, another opportunity." He squeezed her hands. "You are not responsible for fixing everything." The words broke something in her, because she'd spent 15 years trying to fix everything, trying to fix her mother's death by working herself to exhaustion, trying to fix her lost education by reading late at night, trying to fix the unfairness of the world by being smarter, faster, better than everyone around her. And she was so tired. Marcus pulled her into his arms, let her cry into his shoulder, stroked her hair and murmured things she couldn't quite hear but felt in her bones. When she finally stopped crying, she pulled back. "I'm a mess. You're human. I got mascara on your shirt. I have other shirts." Elena laughed. It came out watery. "What if they're right? The people who say I don't belong here, that I'm just the housekeeper playing dress-up. Then they're idiots?" Marcus said flatly. You've forgotten more about contract law than most of them ever learned. You've saved this company twice in 2 months, and anyone who can't see that is blind. Or classist. That too. Elena took a shaky breath. The board meeting tomorrow. They're going to ask questions. About my background. About why you hired me. Gerald's been digging. Let him dig. Marcus, if they find out about us... There's nothing to find out, Marcus said. We're two consenting adults. We didn't start this relationship until after you were hired. We've maintained professional boundaries at work. We've done nothing wrong. That won't matter to them. Then they can fire me. Elena stared at him. You can't be serious. I'm completely serious. Marcus stood, pulling her up with him. Elena, I've spent 20 years building this company. And if I have to choose between the company and you, I choose you every time. That's insane. That's love. The words hung in the air between them. Elena's breath caught. Marcus, you don't have to say it back, he said quickly. I know you're not ready. I just need you to know that I'm all in. Whatever happens tomorrow, whatever the board says, whatever Gerald tries to pull, I'm with you. Elena looked at him. This man who'd started with nothing, who'd built an empire, who'd spent 15 years trying to atone for his family's sins, who was willing to lose everything for her. I love you, she said. The words came out quiet, but certain. Marcus's eyes went wide. Elena, I love you, she repeated. Stronger this time, and it terrifies me, and I don't know how this ends, but I love you. Marcus kissed her. Soft, reverent, like she was something precious. Then he took her hand. Come on. Where are we going? My place. You're going to sleep in a real bed for once, and tomorrow we're going to walk into that boardroom together and let the chips fall where they may. Okay, I'm going to be blunt with you. If you've made it this far and you still haven't subscribed, I genuinely don't understand you. You've been here for over an hour. 1 hour. That's longer than most people spend on anything. You're invested. You care. You want to know if Elena and Marcus survive the board meeting. You want to know if love actually conquers all, or if the real world crushes it. And yet, the subscribe button is right there. Free, easy, 2 seconds of your time. But you won't do it. Why? Is it spite? Laziness? Some weird principle about not subscribing to things? Here's what I think. I think you're scared of commitment. Even to a YouTube channel. Even to something that's already giving you exactly what you want. So, here's my challenge. Subscribe right now. Prove me wrong. Show me that you're not the person who takes without giving anything back. And if you don't subscribe, at least have the guts to tell me why in the comments. Own it. Say, I don't subscribe to anything, or I'll subscribe later, or whatever excuse makes you feel better. But don't pretend you're going to remember to come back, because you won't. The algorithm will move on, and you'll miss the ending. Your choice. Now let's see if Elena and Marcus can survive what's coming. The board meeting started at 9 a.m. Elena walked in wearing a suit she'd bought specifically for this. Navy, professional. The kind of armor you wear when you're walking into battle. Marcus was already at the head of the table. He caught her eye. A brief nod. We've got this. The board members filed in. 12 of them. Old money and new. The kind of people who decided the fates of thousands with a single vote. Gerald Winters was the last to arrive. He had a folder under his arm, and a smile that made Elena's stomach drop. The meeting started normally. Updates on the merger, financial projections, due diligence reports. Then Gerald cleared his throat. Before we vote, I have some concerns about the legitimacy of our contract review. Marcus's jaw tightened. What kind of concerns, Gerald? Concerns about the qualifications of our consultant. Gerald opened his folder. Miss Voss, you've been instrumental in this merger. Your insights have been valuable. But I think the board deserves to know your full background. Elena's hands clenched under the table. Miss Voss attended Yale, Gerald continued. But she didn't graduate. In fact, she left before completing her senior year. No degree, no formal credentials in law. And prior to her employment here as a consultant, she worked as... He paused for effect. A housekeeper. In this very building. The room erupted. Voices overlapping, shocked questions, outraged murmurs. You hired a cleaning lady to review million-dollar contracts? This is absurd, Marcus. What were you thinking? How can we trust her analysis? Elena sat frozen. Every nightmare she'd had about this moment coming true. Marcus stood, slowly, deliberately. The room went quiet. Are you finished, Gerald? Marcus asked. His voice was deadly calm. I just think the board deserves to know who they're trusting with. With what? With the survival of this company? Marcus leaned forward, hands flat on the table. Because that's what Elena's done. Twice. She caught a mistranslation that would have cost us $50 million. She identified structural liabilities that your legal team missed for 3 weeks. She's worked 100-hour weeks for the past 2 months reviewing contracts in 6 languages. But she's not qualified. She's more qualified than you, Marcus said flatly. She studied under Professor Whitmore at Yale. Same professor I had, same program. She was 1 semester away from graduating summa cum laude when her mother died. And you know where her mother died, Gerald? Gerald's face paled. She died working for my family. Fell from a faulty ladder because my parents cut corners on safety equipment. Elena was 17. She came home to take care of her mother. Watched her die. Lost her scholarship. Lost her future because my family was negligent. The room was dead silent now. So yes, Marcus continued, Elena worked as a housekeeper. Because she had $43,000 in student loans and no degree and a dead mother, and she did what she had to do to survive. And the fact that she's standing here today, having saved this company millions of dollars despite everything she's been through, doesn't make her less qualified. It makes her the most qualified person in this room. Elena's eyes were burning. She couldn't breathe. Marcus turned to face the board. I hired Elena because she's brilliant, because she sees things other people miss, because she's earned every single opportunity I've given her. And if you have a problem with that, you have a problem with me. Marcus, you're being emotional about this. You're damn right I'm emotional, Marcus said. His voice was rising now. Because I'm tired. Tired of watching people like Elena get overlooked because they don't have the right connections or the right background or the right last name. I'm tired of pretending that a piece of paper matters more than actual skill. He took a breath. My parents worked factory jobs. My father was injured on the line and got fired the same day. My mother cleaned houses for 20 years. I got to Yale on scholarships and loans, and I worked night shifts at a warehouse to afford food. And when I married into old money, I spent 10 years pretending I came from the same world they did. Hiding where I came from. Being ashamed of the people who sacrificed everything so I could have a chance. Elena's hand flew to her mouth. I'm done hiding, Marcus said. "I'm done pretending, and I'm done working with people who think class matters more than competence." He turned to Elena, extended his hand. "Elena Voss is the best thing that's happened to this company in years. She's also the best thing that's happened to me. And if this board can't see that, then I'm resigning. Effective immediately." The room exploded again. But Elena only saw Marcus, standing there, hand extended, risking everything. For her, she stood, took his hand. "You don't have to do this," she said quietly. "Yes, I do. Marcus, the company, doesn't matter without you." One of the board members, an older woman named Catherine, who'd always been kind to Elena, stood up. "Oh, for God's sake, everybody calm down." The room quieted. Catherine looked at Gerald. "You've been looking for a reason to undermine Marcus since he turned down your nephew for the VP position. This isn't about Miss Voss's qualifications. This is about your ego." Gerald sputtered. "That's not—" "It absolutely is. And frankly, I'm tired of it." Catherine turned to the rest of the board. "Miss Voss has done exemplary work. Her analysis has been thorough, accurate, and has saved us from multiple costly mistakes. I don't care if she learned contract law at Yale or from reading books in a library or from ancient aliens. She's good at her job. And unless someone can point to an actual error in her work, not just an issue with her resume, I move that we proceed with the vote." Several board members nodded. "Seconded," someone said. Gerald looked around the room, realized he'd lost. "This is irregular." "So noted," Catherine said. "All in favor of proceeding with the Meridian merger based on Miss Voss's contract analysis?" 11 hands went up. Only Gerald abstained. Catherine smiled. "Motion passes. Gerald, you're excused." Gerald grabbed his folder and stormed out. The tension in the room deflated like a punctured balloon. Catherine looked at Marcus. "You can sit down now. No one's accepting your resignation." Marcus didn't sit. He was still holding Elena's hand. "I meant what I said," he told the board. "About all of it." "We know," Catherine said gently. "And for what it's worth, some of us already knew. About your background. You're not as good at hiding it as you think." Marcus blinked. "You knew?" "Some of us came from similar places. We recognized the signs." She looked at Elena. "Welcome to the team, Miss Voss. Officially. I'd like to discuss making your position permanent once the merger closes." Elena couldn't speak, just nodded. The meeting adjourned. Board members filed out. A few stopped to shake Elena's hand, to congratulate her, to whisper that Gerald had been an ass for years and it was about time someone put him in his place. Finally, the room was empty except for Elena and Marcus. "You told them," Elena said. "Everything." "Yes." "You didn't have to do that." "Yes, I did." Marcus turned to face her fully, took both her hands. "I told you. I choose you. Every time." "I don't know what to say." "Then don't say anything. Just stay. Stay with me. Let me take you to dinner. Let me finish paying off your student loans. Let me help you go back to Yale and finish your degree." "Marcus?" "I'm not done," he said. "Let me love you the way you deserve to be loved, publicly, proudly, without hiding, without shame. Let me spend the rest of my life proving that you taking a chance on me was the best decision you ever made." Elena's tears spilled over. "That sounds suspiciously like a proposal." "It's not. Not yet." Marcus smiled. "When I propose, you'll know. There will be a ring, And probably a speech that makes this one look like nothing. Elena laughed through her tears. You're ridiculous. I'm in love. That too. She kissed him, right there in the boardroom, in the same room where she'd corrected his lawyers in Latin, where everything had started. When they broke apart, Marcus rested his forehead against hers. So, is that a yes? He asked. To dinner and student loans and Yale and the rest of it? It's a yes, Elena whispered. To all of it. 6 months later, New Haven, Connecticut. Yale University graduation ceremony. Elena Voss stood in line wearing a cap and gown, waiting to walk across the stage and receive the degree she'd left behind 15 years ago. Her hands were shaking. Not from fear, from joy. Because sitting in the audience, third row from the front, was Marcus Ashford, wearing jeans and a Yale sweatshirt, looking at her like she'd hung the moon. Next to him was Catherine from the board, and half a dozen colleagues from Ashford Industries who'd become friends over the past 6 months. And in the front row, saved by an usher at Elena's request, was an empty seat. For her mother. Elena's name was called Elena Maria Voss, Bachelor of Arts in Classics and Economics, summa cum laude. She walked across that stage, shook the dean's hand, accepted the diploma that represented 15 years of grief and struggle and refusing to give up. The applause was thunderous. Marcus was on his feet, cheering louder than anyone. Elena caught his eye, mouthed, I did it. He mouthed back, I knew you would. After the ceremony, they met outside. Marcus swept her into his arms and spun her around. Dr. Voss, he said. Not a doctor, just a bachelor's degree. For now. You start your master's program in the fall. Only if Ashford Industries will let me keep working part-time. I think we can arrange that, Marcus said, seeing as the VP of International Contracts writes her own schedule. Elena still wasn't used to that title, VP. Her office was on the 72nd floor now, 2 doors down from Marcus. She had a team of analysts who reported to her. A salary that let her afford an apartment in Manhattan instead of Queens. A life she'd stopped dreaming about years ago. But the best part wasn't the job or the title or the money. It was Marcus. They'd gone public about their relationship 4 months ago. No more hiding, no more sneaking around. The response had been mixed. Some people were happy for them. Others whispered that Elena had slept her way to the top. Elena had learned to ignore them, because she knew the truth. She'd earned every single thing she had, and Marcus loved her for who she was, not what she could do for him. That evening, Marcus took her to the small Italian restaurant in Brooklyn, the same place they'd had their first date. I'm starting to think this is your favorite restaurant, Elena teased. It reminds me of the night I knew, Marcus said. Knew what? That I was going to marry you. Elena's breath caught. Marcus. He was already kneeling. Right there in the middle of the restaurant. In front of the other diners and the owner who knew them by name and the waitress who was crying into her apron. Elena Maria Voss, Marcus said. His voice was shaking. 6 months ago, you walked into a boardroom and changed my life. You were brave and brilliant, and you didn't let anyone make you small. You've spent the past 6 months teaching me what it means to be seen, to be loved, to be enough exactly as you are. He pulled out a ring. Simple, elegant, a sapphire surrounded by small diamonds. Blue like Yale, he said, because that's where both our stories started, even if we didn't know it yet. Elena's hands were shaking. I love you, Marcus said. I love your brilliance and your strength, and the way you refuse to settle for anything less than you deserve. I love that you correct my Latin and push me to be better and look at me like I'm more than what I've built." He took her hand. "Marry me. Not because I'm rich or because I can give you things. Marry me because we make each other better. Because we understand where each other came from. Because when I look at you, I see home." Tears were streaming down Elena's face. "Amor vincit omnia," Marcus said softly. "Love conquers all." Elena dropped to her knees in front of him, eye to eye. "Semper," she whispered. "Always." Then she kissed him. The restaurant erupted in applause. When they finally broke apart, Marcus slipped the ring onto her finger. Perfect fit. "Is that a yes?" he asked. "That's a yes," Elena said. "To everything, forever." That night, they went to Marcus's penthouse. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city that had tried to break them both and failed. Elena stood at the window, wearing Marcus's Yale hoodie and nothing else, watching the lights blink on across Manhattan. Marcus came up behind her, wrapped his arms around her waist, kissed her neck. "No regrets?" he murmured against her skin. Elena turned in his arms, looked at this man who'd seen her when she was invisible, who'd loved her when she was difficult, who'd risked everything because he believed she was worth it. "Only that I didn't speak Latin sooner," she said. Marcus laughed. Then he kissed her. Slow and deep and full of promise. He lifted her into his arms, carried her to the bedroom, laid her down on sheets that cost more than her first month's rent, and loved her the way she deserved to be loved, completely, thoroughly, without reservation. Later, they lay tangled together, skin to skin, heartbeat to heartbeat. "What are you thinking?" Marcus asked. Elena traced the line of his jaw. "That my mother would have liked you." "Yeah?" "Yeah. She always told me not to settle, to demand more from the world, to take up space." Elena's voice caught. "I wish she could have seen this, seen me graduate, seen me happy." Marcus pulled her closer. "She sees." "You think?" "I think the woman who raised you, who worked 3 jobs and sacrificed everything so you could have a chance, I think she's watching, and I think she's proud." Elena buried her face in his chest, let herself cry. Happy tears this time. When she looked up, Marcus was watching her with so much love, it hurt. "I'm going to spend the rest of my life making sure you know you're worth it," he said. "Worth the fight, worth the risk, worth everything." "You already do," Elena said. Then she kissed him again, and again, and again. Because some love stories don't start with love at first sight. Some start with 2 words in a dead language, with a woman brave enough to speak up, and a man wise enough to listen. Some love stories are about second chances, about being seen, about refusing to stay invisible. And some love stories are about 2 people from the same broken world finding each other and deciding that broken doesn't mean unfixable. It just means human. So, we're at the end. Elena got her degree, her career, her love story, everything she'd stopped believing she could have. And you got a complete story. Now here's my question. Was it worth subscribing to? Because if you made it all the way to the end, if you invested this much time in Elena and Marcus but you still won't hit that subscribe button, I genuinely want to know what's going through your mind. Are you afraid you'll miss out on other content if you commit to this channel? Are you someone who watches hundreds of videos but subscribes to nothing? Do you think subscribing somehow obligates you to something? Or is it simpler than that? Maybe you just don't think about it. You consume the story and move on and never consider that someone spent hours crafting this for you. Here's the thing. I'll keep making these stories whether you subscribe or not, but the algorithm won't show them to you. You'll miss the next one, and the one after that, and eventually, you'll forget this channel existed. So this is your last chance. Subscribe, turn on notifications, be part of the community that gets these stories first. Or don't. But at least tell me why in the comments. I'm genuinely curious about the psychology of the person who watches a full video love story and still can't commit to a free subscription. Prove me wrong. Or prove me right. Either way, I want to hear from you. Before you go, I want to ask you one final question. Would you have forgiven him? If you were Elena, if the man you were falling for was connected to the worst thing that ever happened to you, could you have moved past it? Could you have seen him for who he was instead of what his family did? Or would the grief have been too much? Drop your answer in the comments. I want to know. Would you have walked away? Or would you have stayed and fought for love? And while you're down there commenting, tell me, what story should we tell next? Forbidden romance between rivals? Second chance love after years apart? A marriage of convenience that becomes real? You tell me. Because this channel is about the stories that make you feel something. The ones that stay with you after the video ends. The ones worth subscribing for. Elena spoke Latin to a billionaire's lawyer, and the whole room froze. But what really froze them wasn't the language. It was watching someone refuse to stay invisible. Watching someone take up space they'd been told they didn't deserve. Watching someone be brave enough to speak up, even when it would have been easier to stay silent. That's the real love story. Not just Elena and Marcus, but Elena and herself. Learning that she was worth fighting for, and maybe that's the story we all need to hear. Thanks for watching Obsidian Romance. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next story.